We have now a presentation about IBM Financial Services Cloud. And I have with me today Sandy Carroll. She's IBM Cloud Partner Ecosystem for Financial Services lead. And we did a video recently, and I took a couple of stats from that away about the Financial Services Cloud, and I think that's why it's highly relevant and interesting for you to hear about what IBM has done around financial services. They have 7 focus areas. So under focus areas, you can understand something like risk management and compliance, data protection, authentication, application and workflow protection, infrastructure security, and response monitoring. Yeah. They have 21 unique control families in their model. They have 280 controls, 565 control requirements, all financial service specific. And I think that's something you will talk about in more detail later on, Sandy. But let's hear it from you directly before I confuse the audience with more stats. So please welcome Sandy Carroll from IBM.
Mic check.
Green button to move.
All right. So how is everybody doing today? Are you ready for the reception? I'm ready. I don't know about you guys. And I know it has been a long day. I'll try to keep my presentation short. If you have any questions, please feel free to stop me, and we can talk about it more at the reception if you're interested. I want to focus on drinks, but if you're interested, I'll be there, and we can talk about it. So I'm not going to talk about SAP. I'm not going to talk about in-depth about IBM. Everybody knows about it. What I would like to focus on is a couple of things about regulators, a couple of things about what are the security and compliance requirements. I would like to talk about what exactly is happening with national security, national cybersecurity strategy, and few other things, but again, that will be my focus today. First of all, happy International Women's Day to everyone. I think it's a good day that SAP Pioneer has picked, and it's great to celebrate with all of you guys. So I'm Sandy Carroll, and I'm the Director of Financial Services Cloud Ecosystem. I work with various partners, and I bring them onto Financial Services Cloud, and de-risk the partners and help Financial Services Cloud consume those partners. So they're actually outsourcing and offloading and reducing the time to compliance because we are doing it for them. So what is happening in financial services market? Since this morning, we have heard about a lot of things, and if you put $1 for every time somebody said digital transformation, we could have made a lot of money today. So everybody's talking about digital transformation, but what exactly is happening? Why do we need to do that? Yesterday, I was talking to a sales guy, and he told me, Sandy, I'm working with a bank in Saudi Arabia. Bank is out there for more than 20 years, actually. And they have 10 million subscribers. I know, I come from Citibank, and Citi has 200 million subscribers. But Saudi is a small country, and they have 10 million subscribers. And overnight, a fintech came, and within a couple of weeks, 4 million subscribers moved to fintech. So that is what is happening in financial services. Because the banks are huge, any product they want to bring to the market takes forever. They have to go through all the security and regulatory compliance. And this morning we heard about from Philippe from Bank of London, who was referring to, oh, it's very easy. I'm doing things very, very in an agile fashion. I don't have to worry about digital transformation. I'm already my services are digital. So the new entrants have an advantage of competing in the market very fast compared to the banks. But now, for banks to compete, what they have to do is they have to accelerate the journey to cloud. They have to modernize. They have to innovate and work with the partners to actually build new products, come up with new revenue models. So, and how can they do that? So everybody's trying to quickly go to cloud. They pick first primary cloud provider, secondary cloud provider. But what they haven't done successfully is migrate the middle and back office, where majority of the functionality is. And just like we heard this morning, where Dirk was talking about how they're actually building core applications which will transform and moving to the cloud and which will actually help the clients accelerate the journey to cloud. So that is what is required. But who is following the security and compliance requirements in the cloud? Does the cloud providers already have those security and compliance requirements? So that is actually an interesting thing, because if cloud is built for general purpose workloads, every cloud provider has a fair game. But cloud, especially in financial services, it needs to support mission critical, data sensitive workloads. So that is where IBM come into picture, and that is where we actually built a cloud specifically focused on regulated workloads. All right, if you see this chart, depending on which geography you came from, you'll be able to identify certain regulatory bodies. Anybody from Australia? Anybody from Canada? Anybody from Europe? Germany specifically? Yeah, I'm sure you can recognize BaFin. If you're from Canada, you can recognize OSFI. If you're from United States, you can refer to FDIC. Whenever you go and deposit your money, every bank says I'm FDIC insured, which means FDIC has all the regulation, has an oversight, regulatory oversight on that particular bank. So what does this mean? And how does this apply to technology? And what do I have to do with regulatory bodies? So you might be thinking that. So honestly speaking, these regulatory bodies, they actually wake up in the morning and look at the market and say, oh, guess what? Today I want to put some regulations on crypto market, right? Because crypto, digital assets is a new thing. So, and then when they speak language, none of the common people understand what it means. So we have regulatory experts who actually translate what regulators mean and translate it into technology requirements and controls, and finally apply that to cloud or on-premise or any other location where they're running the workload. So in this case, what IBM has done is, we actually have an in-house regulatory expert called Promontory. They translate all the regulations that come in the market across the globe in various geographies. And they're the ones who are actually telling us, hey, you have to technically implement these controls in your cloud to make it regulatory compliant. So when a customer comes and deploys their workload, they're automatically regulatory compliant because your cloud is compliant. So that is a major difference between all the cloud service providers we have there and IBM Cloud for Financial Services, because we are not only building our cloud for general purpose workloads, but we are also specifically building for workloads in regulatory industries. So it can be banking, it can be insurance, healthcare, federal government, so it can be any industry, but our cloud actually serves all the purposes. And we actually built a framework called IBM Cloud Framework for Financial Services. That is what Falk is referring to. We have 7 control families. We have 21 control areas. We have 565 controls. I come from, right now I'm working for IBM, but my previous role is at Citi. And at Citi, I was responsible for building their private cloud and making sure that private cloud and the workloads that are coming to private cloud meet all the security and regulatory requirements. So I'm talking private cloud only, but in public cloud, it is the responsibility of both CSP as well as the client to make sure they meet all the security and regulatory requirements. All right, so I talked a lot about regulatory bodies. Now, what are regulators saying? So because we talk to all the regulators across the globe, there are few themes that we have seen that needs to be adhered to by all the clients who are actually going to the cloud or having a digital transformation journey. So this might look a little familiar to you because these are actually required by all the workloads, all the banks, all the insurance companies who are currently hosting their workloads on premises. So now, because everybody is going to a cloud, now the same principles and the same regulatory watch will be there on cloud as well. and when you're moving your workloads to the cloud. So these are top 6 regulatory themes. First and foremost, resiliency. So when I was in a financial services industry with a customer, we actually deployed a release, and somebody made a Zelle payment and transferred $500. And after that payment was made, for every transaction, there are 2 transactions that happened. And OCC, who is a regulator, came in, put a stop, put a fine on our company, because regulators always watch the best interest of the consumers, and consumers are the customers of the bank. So what they want to make sure is, whenever there is a operational issue or a development issue or any issue that might potentially impact consumers, they want to make sure the systems are resilient to recover from the issue immediately. Second, SaaS and fintechs. Nowadays, just like SAP Pioneer has so many products out there that they're building on their BTP platform, and they want to use that to help customers modernize their journey. So same thing here, banks are going after fintechs, insurtechs, and SaaS providers. You must have heard insurtechs and fintechs so many times today. Again, every dollar in the jar would have been a lot of money. So what we are doing, what banks and regulators want to do is, actually, I don't know if you got a chance to look at this, but there was a White House executive order which talks about how digital supply chain providers, fintechs, SaaS providers, everybody need to follow the same regulations that the banks are following whenever they're dealing with sensitive data. So it is actually interesting because it came from the White House, and it came after the famous SolarWinds issue, and it came after the Colonial Pipeline ransomware attack. Because all these third parties are indirectly contributing to cyber threats and cyber attacks. So the White House executive order was clearly telling that every service provider, every third party need to follow, and every digital chain supply provider has to follow all these regulatory requirements, security requirements. Multi-cloud strategy and governance. What is interesting is when a workload is on premise, bank is actually responsible for the entire risk end to end. But now the workload is moving to the cloud, there is a shared responsibility, and the shared responsibility is like, when a regulator comes, everybody's pointing fingers at each other, and they're like, no, I'm not responsible, no, I'm not responsible. So what regulators are saying is, make sure you have a clear description of who is going to do what, and clear guidelines on who is responsible for what. So that is number 3. Number 4, cloud misconfiguration. I don't want to talk about any of my competitors, but there are a lot of misconfigurations that you must have heard about, especially on the storage side, where it caused a potential security breach, which actually, especially from a bank, which actually made lose a lot of customers' personal data and PII data. So that is one of the major regulatory theme, and that follows with a lot of fines. Next thing is concentration risk. So now everybody is picking one cloud provider, and then, or 2 cloud providers, and then moving their workloads. So what regulators would like to know about is, what is the exit strategy? What is the portability? If there is some issue that happens with one of the cloud provider that they're using, what is the exit strategy? So that is another regulatory thing. And last but not the least, data backups. So anytime there is a cybersecurity incident, we want to make sure that we are able to go to the backup and completely recover from that particular incident. So recently, I was actually trying to pay my tax bill, and I went to Dallas appraisal district where we pay taxes. And I tried to log in. I tried to actually hit the page, and it keeps on taking me to ransomware. I'm like, am I accidentally picking a wrong website? And after multiple trials and multiple Google searches, I came to realize that there was a ransomware attack. Before, these attacks used to be somewhere where you are not impacted. But these days, the attacks are everywhere. I'm trying to send an email to my school district, my kid's school district. and I see that it is going somewhere else. You get spam, you are getting phishing emails, everything. So regulators want to make sure that these are the scenarios that happen normally, accept that it happens, and be prepared for how to recover from it or how to prevent them when they happen. Okay? All right, so what IBM has done. So IBM, as you know, has long-standing relationship with financial services organization. Every bank, every financial institution has mainframes, and IBM always knew how to do confidential computing from mainframe days, and we have taken that and applied to cloud. So we are not competing in the market, with all hyperscalers at the same rate or anything like that. Our focus is specifically on financial services industry. And what we have done is, this is actually the first cloud. There are a lot of information in the market who talks about, oh yeah, we have a financial services cloud, this is how we implement all that. I'm telling you, when I heard about financial services cloud, I was actually making a transition from Citi to IBM. I'm like, slam dunk, I'm sold, because that is exactly what I had to do, control by control at Citi, and I always wished there is a cloud service provider or a managed services provider who already did that for us. So I totally believe, and I can relate as a customer, that this cloud for financial services is not only going to help me assist and meet security and regulatory compliance requirements in the cloud, but also help me with any kind of regulatory evidences that are required when I move my workload to the cloud. All right, so that is the first benefit. The second benefit is safeguarding the data. We always look at how to safeguard the data when the data is all in the cloud, because we have very little control over how things are done by the cloud service provider. So what IBM has done is, he took the confidential computing aspect of mainframes and applied it to our storage buckets, our databases, and used the same level of encryption in order to safeguard data. And IBM is all about de-risking the fintechs and the third parties, and that is what we did with SAP HANA and SAP ASC or Sybase. So what we have done is, we actually took them through the compliance process, the same compliance process of 565 controls that we take our cloud through, our cloud native services through, all our SaaS providers and partners that we have on our cloud, and last but not the least, the client workloads as well. So we have a consistent security and regulatory oversight and compliance throughout the journey of a client going from on-premise to IBM Cloud for financial services, or other cloud providers to financial services cloud. So regulators are working with us very, very closely, as I've shown you. And what we are doing is, we are making sure we work with industry bodies, we work with standard Cloud Security Alliance out there. We work with regulators. We also work with council banks who can continuously tell us and keep us current, keep our framework of 565 controls current. So we are always meeting security and compliance, and we actually help our clients also meet the same thing. So this is what we are doing with SAP S/4HANA and ASC. So as you know, IBM is a premium supplier of S/4HANA. So we have the practice, or a Rise with SAP practice, where we provide managed services and technical services for SAP. And what we have done is, we have taken them through the vendor risk assessment process. So when a financial services client comes to us and says, hey, can I consume Rise with SAP with you or Sybase with you, then we have already de-risked, we have all the evidences that is required by a bank to quickly verify, and that reduces the procurement cycle, that reduces the vendor assessment cycle, and overall, client is saving up to 30% in compliance costs. So these are some marketing things that was published along with SAP. You can actually click on the link and take a look at it later. Okay, so we have a Financial Services Cloud Council. I know these days I keep hearing everybody has a community of clients, everybody has community of various vendors. This is a little different because at this point, when we started this council in 2021, then we had 7 members in the council. And today we actually have 130 members in the council. And we have 3 different types of councils. IT council, and again, this is only C-level and above, and senior leadership. So we have IT council, which has CIOs and CTOs. We have risk council, which has CROs. And then we have a CISO council. So these councils meet every quarter. And before they meet, they actually decide on a topic, which is industry problem. And this is actually, very closed set of people. And we have a Chatham House rules where we don't discuss who quoted what. So our council members can come and actually talk about all the industry issues, and then we start working with them on the solutions. So this is actually the council, and if there are any clients in the audience or you know of any clients, I'll be happy to work with you guys to nominate them. So they can join the council. Again, this is not a sales pitch. They can just join the council, discuss pain points, hear from their peers, and see what everybody is doing to solve these problems. Okay, this is, again, the previous one is only for senior leadership, and this is a community where everybody can join. So as I mentioned, in this community, we publish what is happening with the framework, what are the new regulatory changes coming, what is coming out of Biden's administration or White House in general. So for the first time in the history of US, they have actually, White House actually published National Cybersecurity Strategy. So if you go to this website and look into details, it will talk about like what exactly is happening with that, what does it mean, how does it impact service providers, vendors, clients, so all those details. And there is actually a reason, and this happened in like last 2 weeks. And there is also a report that came out of US Department of Treasury, and they are talking about how financial services clients have to adopt to cloud and what do they need to do in order to do that. So this is not only, like financial services moving to cloud is not only getting attention from clients just to innovate or just to accelerate the journey to cloud, but mostly, even when they do that, they want to make sure the consumers are not getting impacted, and all the regulations, all the controls, and all the visibility that the regulators had when the workloads are on premise, they want to have the same kind of visibility when the workload move to the cloud. So it's not easy, but that is what regulators want, and we are here to facilitate that and help them achieve those goals and still maintain the same level of security and compliance while they're innovating at speed, unlocking all the benefits, coming up with new products, new revenue opportunities, and overall getting to revenue faster, competing in the market, all that kind of good stuff. So with this, I still have 6 minutes, but I am open to questions, and thank you all for joining me today.
I have a question for you, Sandy.
Okay.
Yep. So you have seen many cloud migrations over the past couple of years. What's the one key lesson you would like to share with the audience? What would you say your customers before they start the cloud journey?
Oh, a bunch of things, actually. First, first and foremost, I think it's when you're making the cloud journey, it's actually like a dysfunctional family trying to go on a trip, right? So first and foremost, it is important to level set and make sure everybody knows where you're going, why you're going, what are you getting out of it. And so that is the first part. Second part is getting all the people skilled and trained. Of course, that is very, very important. And third, it's not just going and picking any partner, any managed services provider, or any cloud provider for that matter. It is important to understand what is the nature of my workloads, what is the nature of my data, what is the nature of my customers, and what is right for me long term, because most of the decisions are made with very less visibility, thinking, oh, I can move my front office applications in say 10 months. What happens to back office applications and what happens to middle office applications? So I think choosing the right cloud provider and getting the teams trained and also getting the buy-in from bottom up is actually very, very important for a successful digital transformation.
Thank you very much, Sandy. Thank you.
So thanks all.